Hello folks and welcome to round 2 of the Continental Tyres Australian Superboat Championship here at Griffith in New South Wales. This event traditionally absolutely goes off. Some of the best in the world of superboat racing are here this weekend to contest over 2 days of racing, which culminates under lights. So it really does have its own spectacular atmosphere. Day 1, it's the IGA Racing Dash for Cash. Sean Henshelwood's in the pits to catch up with some of the stars.
Daryl Hutton, winner of round 1 of the Continental Tyres Australian Superboat Championship, coming into round 2. Griffith's a little bit hairy so far, this track direction, surprising a few people.
Yeah, Griffith's it's looking good from last year. They've stepped up with the presentation of the track and everything, but the tyres around the outside edge is just what's creating all the waves that are hitting the tyres and coming back. They're not dispersing out on the islands like they were at Temora, and so when you come around the next round, you've got all this big wash in front of you, and it's just making all the boats so unstable and very hard to get around the corners.
Does that then come to experience and setup?
A little bit, but it's the same for everybody out there, and it's setup is one thing, but just trying to predict what their boat's going to do as well, and when it's getting air time, that it's going to land and you're going to get around the next corner and things like that.
What can you do? What should you be looking for? Is it line and length?
Smart driving, thinking about where you can push it and where you've got to just get out of the throttle and drive around the corners. And I always struggle with smart driving, as we've seen in the past, But no, that's the approach I'm trying to take, is and smooth and accurate in places, and try and get on the pedal in the straight lines.
Night racing, first time this year, only time this year. What's that going to throw into it?
Night racing is always eventful. It's always brings that other aspect into the racing that I quite enjoy. It's like I said before, same for everybody. So it's still on a level field. It brings a new aspect into the sport, and I find it quite enjoyable.
Time now to take a hot lap with Greg Mercier in As You Do. He's going to explain how you get around this place quickly.
Griffith's got one of the longest straights on the circuit here. I noticed that the Griffith Boat Club have put a chicane in halfway up to try and trick us this year, but most of the boys are going straight over it, so that's good. As we whistle up through the top of the track, we're going to swing around to the right and into the speed bowl there, and you've got to get out of the throttle before you turn into that bowl, or else you've got nothing left to bring yourself in on the island. We're going to try and hold about a metre off it so that we can come whistling down the centre straight. The superboats are really moving as they go into the chicane, as they head down to the bottom island here beside the pits. On the way out, you really need to hug that island so you've got a clean line till you get mid-track on the other side. You chicane to the right again, back up to the speed bowl. We do the speed bowl the other way around this time, and you've got to keep your eye on it as you come out, because you'll see a lot of the boats are really doing the hippie shakes coming out of there. You're going to run down into the centre, and that's probably the most difficult turn on the track. It's a chicane into the centre, and a lot of the drivers, me included, are missing the apex there. It puts us wide, almost on the grass on the first island. If you survive that, it's a U-turn, back up the main straight again, around at the top and down under the finish line.
And in the IGA Racing Dash for Cash, funnily enough, the top of the field was dominated by the IGA Racing team. Robert Hallam, David Blake here, of course, he came through as victor outright for the Dash for Cash. Matt Selby, Noel Selby running around here in Swarfagan, new to this sport after competing in F2. And the Predator boys too, they were also in the mix in the top 5. Robert Hallam topped qualifying, which was fabulous for him. He put the money up to sponsor this event, and he made it all the way through. Unfortunately, he didn't get where he needed to be in the end. That came down to David Blake, Troy McKenzie and Daniel DeVoit. They were the guys who sat at the top of the podium at the end of the event.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. This track is much different to a lot of the others I found. The boat doesn't handle so well on this track, so yeah, I'm slowly working my way back up to the pace again after the crash.
So what was the problem? Is it just the crosswash?
Yeah, purely crosswash. Just I put my foot flat down and thought I could handle it, and next minute the boat bounced out of the water and I was there for the ride.
Troy McKenzie had a fairly interesting day as well, a bit like Daniel DeVoit. So he'd be pretty amazed to be on the podium in the end.
Actually, amazed, probably shocked more so. I think we had a few gremlins, obviously, today. None more so than the accident we had on the island just behind me here. That shook us up, not so much in terms of we weren't going to finish the day. It just sort of hit home and what this sort of stuff could do to you at the end of the day. But yeah, we fought through. We had a crack at the Dash for Cash, and we didn't really think that we'd come away with a place, let alone second place. So we're quite happy. We're looking forward to tomorrow. We think we've got a bit more we can squeeze out of it, we think, and we might surprise a few people.
David Blake, that's a nice end to the day. This is your second Dash for Cash podium in 2 rounds. You must be pretty happy.
Yeah, no, it's been good. The boat's been running well. Had a few problems there today. We thought we weren't going to make it, but from help from a few other boats, we got there, yeah.
And taking money off Robert, of course, that's got to be nice.
Oh, yeah, it's good. It's always good beating Hull because we've always got this rival between each other. Yeah, it's good.
Time now for the 400 class Dash for Cash, and the big battle at the top was always going to be between this man, Ted Sagittas, and his brother Derek. They were the ones that battled it out at the first round at Temora, and here they are again doing it. But where they had dramas with Ted at the first round, this time round it was Derek. He didn't make it through to the final of the Dash for Cash because he had a transponder issue. So the IGA Racing Dash for Cash wound up being pretty much down to Big Ted Sagittas and Rowan Smith. Brooke Dixon had a very rare off early in the weekend, which was a major surprise. She was very quick straight out of the box, but just nipped the tyres, which threw her up the bank. As you can see here from her onboard, that was enough to put her out. Now, of course, in the Dash for Cash on cumulative time, unless you finish all 3 heats, you're not going to make the final. Brooke's mum, Louise, she was pretty consistent again, so too Shane Luffman. There wasn't a big field of guys that missed the final 10, but it was enough to make it a very interesting result as it turned out. This was one of the biggest crashes of the weekend. It was amazing. It looked like only a fairly innocuous brush of the barrels on the inside, but it was enough to throw Tony and wife Sandy out of the water. As you can see in the replay, he only just grabbed it, but on this fairly tight demanding circuit with the water level slightly down, it just threw them out. And once you come out at that particular part of the circuit, it's a big accident. Sadly for them, low budget team, they would go no further for the weekend. Finals time now, and here Chris Bollins in Conti Racer, the QTR Tyre Professionals machine out of Queensland, was doing a fantastic job in the Stingray Racing hull he shares with Tremaine Dukes. They were very quick from the outset, which was great for Chris. Of course, this is his second year in the category, and he was looking to impress, especially on an event like this, which is so tough, so tight. The Griffith circuit's demanding, very unforgiving at times. And we've just seen witness to that. That's a big off. Again, Chris was not far off the line. There the guys are waving to express that they're fine. Unfortunately, the boat might be in a different position, but he just got his apex wrong going into that corner, nipped the barrels. That threw him straight again. Of course, he's trying to get a tight right turn. That was all it takes. Threw it up the bank, and the boys, unfortunately, are going to have to walk their way back out of the mud pit and have the boat taken away. Frustration for the team, but great that they're all safe. Dan Walton, again at the opening round of the championship, he made the final. He was a threat during the Dash for Cash there at Temora. This weekend again, he was fast. He's got this Kryptonite Racing boat well and truly sorted. Of course, in the off-season, Rowan Smith, who's one of the fastest drivers at the track this weekend, sorted this boat for him. Changed the roll cage, changed the position of the engine, changed the position of the seats, changed everything. And Dan Walton, he was quick and he had a great run. One of the big surprises of the weekend, though, and one of the great pleasures, was watching the president of the AFJSA, Greg Harriman, in 321 Ignition, get his way into the top 7 for the Dash for Cash. That was excellent. Everybody was all smiles, not least the man himself and navigator Adam Doyle. It was nice to see him finally get where they deserve to be, and Greg Harriman was right on the money from the outset. Sadly, he suffered an engine problem at the opening round at Temora. Greg Mercier, secretary of the AFJSA and a good friend to a lot of us, he stood up and he said, Greg, I've got a spare engine there from out of As You Do last year, the 400 class engine. You can borrow that, mate, and let's see how you go. How he went? Quick. It was great news for the 321 Ignition team, great news for the sport, and great news for Greg Harriman. It was lovely to see, and his time was pretty impressive. It was nice to see a guy who loves his sport so much and is so passionate about it to come back and be competitive. Brooke Lucas was the next driver up, the former 350 class champion in our toy. Unfortunately, 12 months prior to this, he made the debut in this boat, and it wasn't fantastic. Unfortunately, at the bottom of the track, he just nipped the barrels and the apex coming out of the tight bowl down there, and that threw him off the track into the tyres and all but wrecked his weekend and wrecked his 350 championship title battle. So unfortunately, he didn't make it there that weekend, but this weekend, great result. Fastest time for the Seal Hard, our toy driver. Damien O'Leary out of South Australia, the teammate to Dan Walton. The duo have been doing a great run. This boat, of course, has won world championships in the past at the hands of Slade Stanley, but in the guise of As You Do. Damien was doing a brilliant job. It was nice to see another guy who's so passionate about his sport be so competitive. He put in a pretty hot time in the end. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the Greg Harriman and 321 Ignition fans, he was slower than the president of the association. It was still a top time for Damien and showed that he will be a threat. Rob Coleman this year has been one of the guys who's been on fire. And I don't mean that in the sense of Greg Krusty Mercier on fire at Temora. He's been quick. He's been electric all year. He's another guy who's been in the sport a very long time, but he's been silky smooth all year. Together with a power plant built by Darren Farr, a bit of a guru in the engine building circles, especially in ski racing and superboats, he's got that Stingray hull really hooked up. He's really putting in a top time. He's not frightened to throw that boat around, and I think you're going to find that Rob Coleman's going to be a real thorn in the side of the blokes who we're predicting are going to run at the front of this field all year, the Triple X team. And I think you're going to find too that right now, Rob Coleman, yes, punches the air. That's the fastest time so far, so he takes the point from Brooke Lucas. Another beautiful night and another fantastic crowd at the Lake Wayangan circuit. The Superboat field love coming to Griffith each year, and the rewards are a fantastic crowd and great racing. Sometimes, though, this is a scary venue. Mick Manini, though, he's not scared. He's been doing this a long time. He's one of the regulars on the circuit, and this weekend he'd done a great job. Like Greg Harriman, the president of the association, the secretary here, he's put himself into the top 5, but I don't think it's going to be good enough for the top 2 or 3 places. Let's just see how it goes. Ted Sagittas. Now, this is a man on a mission every time he gets in the boat. He almost feels as if he was robbed at the first round. He went the wrong way in the final of the National Championship. He had a drama, same as he did in the World Championships, blisteringly quick, wins one round and then has a slight hiccup. His brother Derek, though, was there to pick up the pieces, so he's the one leading the championship. Derek's also rated world number 2, but Derek's not here this time. A slight slip keeping them out. We know the heritage of this boat. This is the boat that took Fonzie Mullen to the 2008 Group A title, so it's good. It's got probably the best engine in the country, and you've got to say Ted has really stepped up, and he quite seriously is one of the best drivers in the sport. He's the benchmark. He's the guys that they all want to beat. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone's going to be able to do it this weekend. That was a fantastic time, a 40.608. That puts him straight to the top of the timesheets. Rowan Smith, 2002 champion, here we go. He knows what he needs to do. He was the quickest at the close of the 3 qualifying rounds. So if anyone's going to knock Ted Sagittas off the top step, it'll be Rowan Smith. The brand new Stinger straight out of New Zealand looks fantastic. It's been excellent so far in Rowan's hands. He's put a lot of effort into it, trying to get it ready. Of course, he missed the Dash for Cash at the first round. He's here for the IGA Racing Dash for Cash this time around, but he's not got the boat 100% sorted as he'd like. He thought that the first round he'd be lucky to make the top 10. He just missed the top 3. This weekend, still thinking it's going to take him time to get it in tune, he's made top qualifying point in the IGA Dash for Cash. This is an impressive run. You can see how quick and aggressive he is through the corners. It cuts through the crosswash brilliantly. Coming to the line though, what's he going to do? He's done it. That's pretty amazing. A 39.971. That's almost 7/10 faster than Ted Sagittas, and that gives him the win.
It's a team effort, like it's not just me, it's the boys that help me. Darren Farr and Shane and Nathan come up and they just slave away at the boat, and I've just got to drive it, makes it easier. Today it's the rough water sort of throwing me a bit, but sort of come together that last lap. We made a few changes and it seems to have sorted it out a bit.
You've, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've had some dramas here in the past, but that hasn't slowed you down today.
No, I hit the wall here and had to go to hospital, but that doesn't bother me too much. It happens.
Ted Sagittas, like always, blistering again, but you didn't take that top spot.
Yeah, I sort of, I didn't want to turn into a tin can today. I know I'm coming fourth at the Australian points, so I wasn't really interested of hanging on the wall to miss out on fixing the boat tonight and not have a boat that's going to be ready to win tomorrow.
You're surprised after last year, of course, we didn't have too many boats out of the water, but today's seen more wrecks than we've probably had in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's got something with the water level that they're running at the moment. I don't think it's at the right height, so they need to probably lift the water up by another 2 or 3 inches, maybe 4 if possible, to so the water sort of comes off easy off the banks instead of washing back and forth against the tyres.
Rowan Smith, 2 weeks out from the first round of the championship, was introduced to the fact that he was going to need to build a brand new boat that you were originally planning to debut mid-year. You got it together. You said you'd be lucky to make the top 10. You missed the podium by a 10th, and today here you are, second race out, and you've won the Dash for Cash.
Yeah, look, it's been a huge effort from the team. I can't thank the guys enough for getting us here where we are today. You know, Brian from Moe, Steve from Barrington Transmission Supplies. Just been a huge effort, and yeah, we're here. We're number one, but we've still got more racing in the year, and it's been a great effort to knock it off today.
Let's take a break and come back with more on the other side of this. Welcome back, folks, to Griffith in New South Wales for Superboat action. Every now and again, it's nice to stop one of these amazing craft and take a look at what makes it go so fast. Tremaine Dukes is one of the leading lights in the 400 category. He's also the main man of Stingray Boats. Sean Henshawood tracked him down to find out what makes these boats so awesome.
Okay, well, if you start from the middle of the boat, you've got your delta. Your delta is actually your flat section, feeds the water into your jet unit. So rather than running just a dead rise, you've got your delta at the bottom, feeds the water up into the grill at the bottom of the boat. So there's a lot of variations you can do there, short, wide, long and narrow. They all vary. Every manufacturer does them differently, and it actually has a lot to do with the way that the boat performs. So then you've got your dead rise. I run steeper than some, I tell you, but I'm not telling you what it is. Others run flatter. Difference is a flatter one generally skip across the top of the water better. Crosswash, waves, things like that, they're going to bounce out of the water more. If you've got a deeper dead rise or a variable dead rise, which means from the transom to the nose of the boat it actually rolls up more, so it's a sharper point at the front. When you hit a crosswash, it'll actually break thll the crosswash rather than go over it. Then you go up to your reverse Trine, which wraps around the outside of the boat. You can have, there's some 30 mil, 40 mil, 50 mil. The degree that they actually come down, whether they're flat or they're actually point down, that gives you stability. When the boat's going around the corner, rather than the boat rolling, it'll actually run on the outside Trine, and it'll actually support the boat to make it sit flatter when you're cornering. Lifting strakes give the lift out of the water, and it also holds the boat because you've got all the straights going along, so when you're actually turning it, it holds the water and gives it lift as well. Well, your trim tabs, this one doesn't even run trim tabs. I've actually cut them off, get the boat up out of the water more, gives it less of a footprint in the water, stops the nose from coming in as hard. Other people run a full cav plate. They can generally be up to 200 mil long, adjustable by turnbuckles. You can kind of set the boat up a bit different, more so rougher water, push it in the nose. When it's smoother, pull it up, make it go quicker across the top of the water. So we run probably mid-range with the actual horsepower of my motor. So we come up out of the water, try and get the things going quicker. One of the things that can cause is it will actually be more prone to break away on you. The boat will move a lot more when you're actually physically driving around the track. You'll feel it moving around. Nutsy, Daryl Hutton actually trimmed up Hooters, if you noticed earlier today, and you can actually see the physical way the boat moves a lot more. It was up too much, so you've got to make sure that it is stable. A little bit of movement's good because it's quick, but if it gets a little bit out of hand, good chance you're going to break the seal with the jet unit because the boat's up too much and then it's going to spit you out.
Unlimited Superboat time now in the IGA Dash for Cash. And this man, Adam Rafferty in Jackhammer, was the big surprise of the day. He was second fastest qualifier at the close of the qualifying heats, behind Daryl Hutton, and not far behind. And in front of this man, 2008 Group A champion, Fonzie Mullen, still trying to get this awesome LSX-powered, supercharged ramjet boat going. But the one man they were all chasing, Daryl Nutsy Hutton, the former Kiwi, we love to call him an Australian now, especially after he won the Australian title last year. He was the man that set the front-running pace. Unfortunately, whilst Canberra Floorcraft was running at the front with Slade Stanley, the downside was poor old Paul Burgess and brother Darren there shaking his fist at him. failed to get through to the final. That was disappointment, but they were able to sit on the bank and watch Slade Stanley run a stunning way through to the final and be there when it counted. It was a great weekend for them, gave them the chance to just see how that boat really works. Alongside him on the bank, though, sadly, Mick Carroll and Excalibur. He was hot here last year, but unfortunately failed to make the cut on today's Dash for Cash. And Greg Mercier, too, had to sit out, unfortunately still suffering niggling engine issues. It's finals time now in the IGA Dash for Cash. Slade Stanley on board there in Canberra Floorcraft. The reigning world and Australian Group A champion got into this boat at the first round of Temora and stunned everybody with its speed. He's been the same here again this weekend, but unfortunately that's an off. That doesn't look good. It appears to be a bit of a drive issue. The engine seems to be okay. There's not a lot of smoke, not a lot of issue, I would say, and he's fortunate it cut out where it did, because if it had cut out any earlier, he would have been heading straight to the bank and that would have been a nasty end, but it's just sent itself softly up the bank. There won't be any dramas there, but it looks to be something perhaps like a drive belt issue or a drive line issue. So unfortunately for Slade Stanley, not the way he wanted to end today, but of course today's only Dash for Cash day. This is put on for the crowd, put on for drivers to go out and sort their boats, get a little bit of extra cash to run the season. And in this case, that's the end of the day for him. You see him switch the engine off, so he's not too concerned. So unfortunately for Slade Stanley, he's out. Now we're on board with Fonzie Mullen. Ramjet. This boat is really hooked up. It makes a fabulous sound and it really does get going. But he's been struggling a little bit to get it set up this year. This is an ongoing issue with Fonzie. Unfortunately, last year, a lot of mechanical dramas. He sorted them this year. He's got a little bit of a sound issue and something's just jumped out of the back of the boat there. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Fonzie looks to be a little bit preoccupied. It could be a bit of an issue with the noise limiting they're trying to put into that boat. That might have been what was spat out of the exhaust, out of the back of the boat. He was trying to keep it quiet, get it packed, get the sound down, because this awesome machine makes a lot of noise. There doesn't appear to be any other issue apart from the fact that Fonzie's got something playing on his mind. He wasn't concentrating quite on that corner, but he'd backed out of the throttle by that stage. That's unfortunate for him, but again, race day tomorrow. Let's see how we go in the Australian points round. Adam Ravity, jackhammer, he's got the eyes on. You can see he's concentrating hard. That little 400 injected engine's really firing this weekend, and the boys have got this boat, which is an ex-Phil Dixon championship winning boat in the unlimited class, really hooked up. I think they were just as surprised as anybody else to come out of today, which has been a rough one with a lot of boats out of the water, unscathed, but not only unscathed, but second fastest to the man who's been dominating this championship in the unlimited class in the last 12 months, Daryl Hutton. Adam Ravity's really on it this year, and it's great to see a guy who's so passionate about the sport and really fired up to do so well, to be second fastest in an Australian Championship event and be right on the money. You see how the nose is in the air. It's just skating across the top of the water. They've got that thing set up very, very nicely, and that was a pretty bloody good time, I got to say. Well done to Adam Ravity. So far, that's the quickest time. Now we've got Daryl Hutton. He's the reigning Australian champion in this class. He's a world number 2 in this class. He's a multiple Kiwi race winner. He's come over to Australia and shown the Aussies in Peter Freckleton's boat just how quick he and this boat can be. Okay, so it's coming down to finals time now for the IGA Dash for Cash. He took the Dash for Cash at Temora. Is he going to do it again this weekend? He's really aggressive. This bloke is not frightened of crosswash. He's not frightened of having the boat sit on top of the water and be very, very loose and hard to drive. He has the experience. He knows what he needs to do, and he's got Slade Stanley breathing down his neck. Sadly, Slade hasn't made it through this time, but Nutsy's still out after a time. And a 37.437, that's going to put him comfortably at the top of the timesheets. Jody Eli's got it all in front of him now. Not only has he got to top Daryl Hutton to take the cash, he's also got to beat his younger teammate, Adam Ravity. And Adam's already shown this weekend in Jody's boat, he's going to be very hard to beat. But now it's time for the team boss to get the foot down. Jody Eli's no slouch in this boat. Jack Hammer's his boat's his team. He's now got a younger bloke really taking it to him and forcing him to lift. We've seen Daryl Hutton do it with Peter Freckleton, but in this case, I don't think any of us quite thought that Adam Ravity would be the one taking it to Jody. Jody, of course, has got to think about the team. He's got to think about the setup in the boat. And I think he's got a few other things to think about there. He's just managed to grab the bank at the top of the track. But this is highlighting the drama with the water level. It's about 4 inches lower than it needs to be, and you've only got to make a slight error, which is all Jody made there, and that's enough to put the boat off the track. That's done a lot of damage today. We've lost a number of boats, but in this case, he's managed to keep it all together and record a time. That's third fastest. It's not going to do the job he needs to get him the big dollars, but by the same token, Jackhammer's come out the big winners this weekend. Adam, you'd be pretty impressed, especially the way your first run in unrestricted form came at the World Championships last year, unceremoniously bending the nose of the boat. But since then, mate, it's been all good news.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It makes my job a whole lot easier when the Jackhammer team, and especially Jody, makes something so easy to drive as well. Like, you can do a really good job if you've got a really good package. So, and that's what we've got. And all we have to do now is sort of put more power into it, which is most definitely coming. And we're both looking forward to that. So, watch out for us in the future.
Daryl Hutton's done it again. You're making a nasty habit of it so far this year. Last year you went winless. Now we can't stop you.
Oh, mate, it's a habit I'm pretty happy with. You can't get any better than taking out the win today in the rough conditions that we had. It was exciting driving and exciting to get the win at the end of the day.
Slade Stanley put you on notice a little bit early there when he set that 37.
Mate, we've been talking about Slade all day, and he's definitely a threat, and he could take it at any stage, and he makes us step to that next level. It's good to have him to compete against, to keep pushing yourself and trying to find the last little bits. Like, we're still tinkering with our boat in the finals, and you don't normally do that. You don't take the risk of changing something, but you think, if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, we've tried our best.
Daryl Hutton taking his second win in the IGA Dash, but tomorrow, of course, it's all championship points day. At the close of the opening round, we see that Daryl Hutton's on top in the unlimited superboat class. He's 4 points clear of his new arch rival, Slade Stanley. Greg Krusty Mercier, if he can sort his fuel issues, he's sorted. He's third so far, but just behind him's the man of the day, Adam Ravity. In the International Group A class, it's Desi Sagittas sitting on top with 58 points. Equal second, Robbie Coleman and Daniel Walton, the two guys that were big surprise podium place getters at the first round at Temora, ahead of Ted Sagittas, the man many thought would walk away with this championship. Behind him, though, just 2 points, 2002 champion Rowan Smith. And in the 350 class, Daniel James, maximum points, on top with 60, ahead of Colin Bellett, 54, and Daniel Devoid on 51.
Well, that wraps us up from a bruising first day of competition of the Continental Tires Australian Superboat Championship at Griffith in New South Wales. And the good news is, it is all the wild action of day 2.
Welcome to round 2 of the Continental Tires Australian Superboat Championships. I'm Amy Harriman, and you're joining me here from Griffith for the annual 2-day Easter event. Last night we saw many thrills and spills as drivers struggled to keep their boats on the water. But tonight a clean slate is being written as we prepare for the fight out of the Australian points. Chris Bollins, an International Group 8 driver, very, very competitive in the field last night here at Griffith, but unfortunately came out in one of the bottom corners. Chris, tell me what happened.
It was the final run of the night, so I was just trying to get as much more time out of it as I could. Went a little bit too fast, went a little bit too wide, and next thing I was in the bank.
And tell me what was running through your head coming down that bottom corner. It is a really fast corner and we've seen a lot of accidents, but what was running through your head in those final seconds?
Well, to be honest, I didn't even think I was going to go out. I thought I was going pretty well, and the next thing I was just in the wall.
And strategies-wise for fixing the boat, how much longer do you reckon it's going to take? Where are you at with getting back into the field for racing?
Conveniently, we've got another hull already built down in Melbourne, so when we get back, we're just going to transfer everything into the new hull, and we'll be back in 3 weeks' time for Cabarita.
Slade Stanley last night in the top 5 for the Dash for Cash. We saw you set a blistering time. You just started to creep in. Anyway, you were out there and something happened. Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, the Canberra Floorcraft boat was just flying out there, and I just got into that corner a bit hot, and I drifted wide, and I didn't want to pull it in. I didn't sort of want to wash off any speed, so I knew I needed to set a fast pace to sort of beat Daryl Hutton. So, we got a little greedy, and I just sort of tagged the tyres, and it just sort of pulled me up on there, and I just couldn't get out of it.
350 class time now, championship points on the line. David Blake in IGA Racing. Of course, IGA backed the Dash the day before. It was great to see David come through and take team owner Robert Hallam's money. The IGA Deniliquin team were fast all weekend, and so was this team, the Predator team. It was nice to see Troy McKenzie and Shane Allen get this boat continue to run around without problems. Of course, last year there was a myriad of disasters. Shane Andrew, a former competitor in the 350 class, back after a few years off. He was doing a great job in his old fiberglass tub. He was right up there too. And these guys, another fiberglass boat, pretty rare in modern day superboats. Matt Selby, ex-F2 competitor. He and Father Noel had a drama. That was a terminal engine issue. Daniel Devoid out of Queensland. He with Cole Bellett were up at the pointy end of the championships, along with this man, Daniel James, who'd had a drama this weekend, having to run a spare engine after their primary unit wound up with steel in it. They discovered that just prior. But it was all David Blake in the end. He took the victory in the championship. It was nice for that team to come out on top.
I'm here with David Blake. David, you've come first this evening in the 350 class. How are you feeling?
Oh, it's been great. It's been like 3 years coming. It's, unreal. There's a lot of good drivers. There's no race about in the world. As tonight, there was not much in it at the last three. Even the last six, it was real close. So, it should be a good year.
Oh, absolutely stoked. We come away this weekend thinking we may maybe get away with a place, maybe not. We had a few gremlins early in the weekend and we thought, no, our weekend's pretty much over. We sorted through that last night and lo and behold, we've come away with a place, so we're stoked, absolutely stoked.
Really good. We didn't really expect to be here tonight. During the week we found out our motor had died. We were pretty lucky that John Bollins from QDR Tyres came on board and gave us a motor for the weekend. So, we're wrapped just to get some points for the Australian points.
Action aplenty again in the 400 class at the close of qualifying. Desi Sagittas again was on top with brother Ted. Ted set the fastest time during the qualifying heats with a 38.9. Had Rowan Smith right behind him, so they were taking their stash from the Dash for Cash on day one back onto the water. Of course, Ted Sagittas desperate to get points after a mishap at the opening round where he failed to get through to the top 12 and into the top 6. Louise Dixon here sharing the boat True Blue 2 with daughter Brooke. Of course, Brooke is a championship contender in this class. Louise, a former Unlimited Superboat driver, she's stepped into the 400 class to support Brooke this year, and they're just trying to get their way through. She's keeping the boat straight. Shane Luffman, brand new engine in 2010, giving the Victorian a little bit more sniff around the circuit. He'd be on a limited campaign for this year. And Tremaine Dukes, he's back on the water in Conti Racer, but had a difficult time. Of course, this boat had a big off yesterday with Chris Bollins at the wheel, so they've tried to do a little bit of repair work on it, get it back on the water, but TJ's not completely happy. And Mark Garlick, he didn't make the top 12, but of course with TJ's retirement, that's elevated him up into that position, so he'll get another run despite being a little bit off the pace of Sanjay. And at the close of the 3 rounds of qualifying for the 400 class at the second round of the Continental Tyres Australian Superboat Championships, it's Ted Sagittas on top with a 38.3, 7/10 clear of Rowan Smith. Brother Derek pulled the third fastest time ahead of Robert Coleman, and Brooke Lucas was a stunning 5th. After running second in the final of the opening round at Temora, Robert Coleman kept his form going here at Griffith. He was doing a great job, but unfortunately, as you see here, he didn't get through the finish, just pushing that little bit too hard. He was desperate to have a good result here. There wasn't much in it, just a fraction off line. He was trying to drift it through the corner and didn't quite make it. So unfortunately, it was the end of his run out in the top 12. Jake Garlick still bouncing around in that old tough tack. It's done a great job, the reigning 350 class champion, in the reigning 350 class champion's boat, although here he is having a bit of a drama, a little bit off the pace that he wanted to do, unlike 2008 350 class champion Brooke Lucas. He was doing a great job to be 5th after the qualifying rounds. He kept the performance going early in the top 12, but it started to drop off towards the end. He had some concerns there might have been a bit of an engine issue, so he eased off the pace. Sadly, he wouldn't get into the 6. Mick Manini's stunning every time he gets in the boat. He's really pushing that little bit extra hard. Here's a prime example of that. Nice little slide across the island, something you can do on the inside of Griffith. You can't do it on the outside. He's just let it run wide, got a little bit squirrely, put it back into the water, kept the foot into it, and kept running through the lap. Unfortunately, that's not the quick way to get around the Griffith circuit. Derek Sagittas really stepped it up in the top 12 final, but there was disaster for the team. Brother Ted had a drama at the opening round, went the wrong way in the top 12. Derek didn't go the wrong way, crossed the line with a stunning time, but had his brother's transponder in. That meant his time was negated. It was a DNF. He was disqualified. He was out of the top 12. Big Ted, though, he kept the pace up. He put the pressure right on Rowan Smith. He was still running around in an unpainted boat, it's so new. Dixon was doing a great job keeping the pace up in True Blue to get herself through into the final 6. And at the close of the top 12, Ted Sagittas came out, maintained his position on top, just clear of Rowan Smith, with Brooke Dixon a well-placed third, ahead of a surprising Damien O'Leary, Mark Garlick, and a fantastic result for Greg Harriman.
The roll cage as he comes
heading into the top 6. Here comes 3-2-1 ignition. Greg Harriman, great job the previous night during the dash for cash. He set down a time that got him into the top 7. Now he's into the top 6. This is fantastic news. He's had a rough year last year. He spent so much time concentrating on running the sport and not enough time behind the wheel actually turning good times. He had a disaster at Temora at the opening round with an engine failure. This round he had the spare engine from As You Do, from Greg Mercier, a spare engine out of the boat from 2009, and he showed that without the concerns of engine issues, without the concerns of running the sport hands-on, there's extra people on the ground to do that this year, he can be quick. He's back concentrated on the job. He's at the toughest circuit in the country, Griffith, which is demanding and very unforgiving. He can be on the money. To be in the top 6 is fantastic. He's really got that boat hooked up and he's done a great job to get where he was. He set the early time. Mark Garlick, who missed the 12, but because of the retirement of Tremaine Dukes, made it into the field. Stunning effort to be in the top 6. The old tough tag's doing a great job. He's got something to prove. Of course, the son, he's the golden hair child. He's the future champion, the one that many believe is the next Slade Stanley, the next Peter Cowie, but it's Mark Garlick that's really set the time this weekend. With wife Kerry sitting alongside, they've bounced that old tough tack through the field. They're coming down the line to try and get themselves into the top 3, but it's not going to happen. That's unfortunate for them. A little bit of smoke blowing out the back from the overflow. Damien O'Leary, another driver who was a surprise entrant into the top 12. He made it into the top 6. He's looking now to get into the top 3. The Stinger hull, of course, comes out of New Zealand, like the Sprintec, is really something that's hooked up this year. This boat is very similar in style to the boat that Rowan Smith runs. There's a couple of them in the field, of course. Slade Stanley took his Stinger last year to #1 in the world, so we know the equipment's up to it. Damien's just working himself up to speed, and that was a good run. That puts Damien O'Leary to the top of the points. He's going to be the first one to get through to the final 3, or is he? Brooke Dixon now in True Blue 2. She's famous for coming on strong in the closing rounds. She's crept herself towards the top 3. She'll be looking to maintain that position because she's wanting to get that position in the championship, because they had dramas at the opening round of the championship with engine failure. One of multiple engine failures through the weekend. This weekend, running this very engine that took As You Do to 5th in the championship last year and the Queensland title, she's looking to turn a top time, and this is silky smooth. This is typical Brooke Dixon. Right when she needs to, she lays down a time. You see how that Sprintec runs through the crosswash, a lot smoother than a lot of the boats that have come before her, and there you go. Brooke Dixon, 40.505, that puts her on top. Rowan Smith has been threatening all weekend. Of course, he won the dash for cash here last night. This boat is silver by design from the build, not by choice. Of course, it's turned up so late prior to the start of the season that they haven't even been able to paint it. All they've done is put the old engine in, which has had a freshen from Moe Engines. You can see his major sponsor. He's built a brand new jet unit along with Steve Harrison from Bearings and Transmission Supplies, and they've put down a time that's 39.062 with that package. That puts them on top. What can Ted Sagittas do? You can see Big Ted, he's not afraid of anything. He's throwing that Macraft around. He's really got it hooked up. What's he going to do? It's part way through the lap, a little bit wide there, but just as aggressive. He's probably got more horsepower in this boat than a lot of his competition, so that's not a big problem. Of course, this is the package that won the 2008 championship with Fonzie Mullen, so we know it's good. What can Deb do as he comes down to the line? He's close. Is he going to do it? Yes, a 38.79. Not his best time, but that puts him on top heading to the final. And at the close of the top 6 in the 400 class, it's Ted Sagittas, just a quarter of a second clear of Rowan Smith, with Brooke Dixon leading home, Damien O'Leary to take the final berth in the top 3. Brooks first up now, True Blue 2, a two-time winner in the 2009 season. The only driver outside of Slade Stanley to actually take a victory. She won at Cabarita, she won at home in Temora. But Griffith's a circuit that's a little bit daunting. Having said that, Brooke has come of age this year. She's been quick straight out of the box at a number of events so far. Griffith was the same. What's she going to do this time round? Silky smooth as always. The Sprintec hull is cutting through the water nicely. It's got that Moe engines, as you do, power plant that took Greg Mercier to a championship win in Queensland in the 2009 season. What's Brooke going to do with it? She's coming through. She's quicker than where she was on that part of the circuit last lap round. Bounces through the crosswash at the top of the track. It's a tricky part of the circuit. Coming to the line, a 40.034. That's an improvement, but is it going to be enough to take the win? Rowan Smith now in the BTS Racing Stinger. He's been very quick all weekend. He was, of course, the winner of the Dash for Cash the previous day. Can he do it again? He's a little behind the 8 ball now. Ted Sagittas has got the advantage in the Triple X machine, but Rowan has really got this thing hooked up. It's amazing how quickly he and Steve Harrison from BTS have got this thing tuned and ready to go. Of course, brand new boat and brand new jet unit, but you can see what experience does. 2002 champion, second last year, and looking to go one better this year. He's made his job a lot harder by having a new boat, but he's got his BTS racing machine through the top of the circuit pretty well. Is he going to come to the line and knock that time off at Brooke Dixon's? I think he might. Yes, he has. Nearly a second in it, 39.119. That's a great time for Rowan Smith, and it'll all be down to Ted Sagittas to see whether he can't make amends for the dramas of the opening round at Temora and take the top spot. Let's watch the launch of the Triple X machine. It's almost straight up the front straight there, slight wiggle in the middle, around anti-clockwise the top island, back across the crosswash, back through the middle of the field and down to this very nasty dark bottom corner, dark in relative terms. Ted's going pretty well, but it looks like he's a fraction off his best time so far through there. He'll need to have a strong finish to the lap in order to make sure he knocks off that time of Rowan Smith. It's a good time. It'll be very difficult for him to do, but there's a championship on the line, so he's got to think beyond just one event, beyond just one final. Coming to the line, is he going to do it? He's very, very close. It's going to be tight. What's the time? 4/100ths of a second. That is incredible. He's just missed out. Good points haul, but it's all Rowan Smith tonight.
Here with Rowan Smith. Rowan, you've just won here at Griffith for round 2 of the Australian Superboat Series. How are you feeling?
Yeah, awesome. It's been a great day. You know, we've been trying all day. We've been changing the boat every run, trying to keep up with Ted, Triple X, and, you know, he had the wood on us all day. You know, we've had basically 2 weeks to put this boat together and another 2 weeks of working on it in between the races, and it's just come together real well. Boat's handling awesome. I've just got to drive a bit better and we'll be faster.
So happy just to get the boat back in one piece, obviously seeing that there's been a lot of crashes out there. We were struggling yesterday. We had quite a few boat problems just trying to set it up with this course, but this evening we've got it all perfect, so it's really good.
No, I just tried to, what happens, you go at that last run knowing that regardless what happens, you get a first, second or third. So I had pretty much my foot flat to the floor as much as I could, telling myself, a bit harder, you got to go a bit harder. I got to that last second time around the bowl, pushed it too hard in there and just got stuck on the tyre because I went too wide. And then the boat stopped, obviously you lose.
He's trying to chase the boss home, let's be honest about it. It wasn't Rowan. He's never beaten me in a race, and he's going for a magic 37 in a Group A.
Slade Stanley here back in Canberra Floorcraft this weekend. Of course, he had a drama at the opening round tomorrow with his own boat, Sagittas, unable to get it going. So he had to jump in the backup boat and ran second to this man, Daryl Hutton. This weekend, though, he's on top of the qualifying points. Hutton was second. Mick Carroll, who's run very quickly at this event before, had this drama during the qualifying heats, but it was at the end of his run, still recorded at the time. The top 3 drivers at the close of the qualifying heats were so close, it set up for a dramatic top 12. Here we've got Slade Stanley on top, only a tenth and a bit clear of Daryl Hutton, with Mick Carroll within striking distance. Fonzie Mullen and Greg Mercier rounding out the 5. Top 12 time now. Andrew Page didn't come the night before for the Dash for Cash, so turned up on the Sunday morning and had a very cautious run through the qualifying heats. This isn't the kind of place that you want to dial yourself in and run right at the front of the pointy end of the field. Paul Burgess, of course, the owner of the Canberra Floorcraft boat, which he's now sharing with Slade Stanley. He put in another consistent run. And the Jackhammer boys, which did so well, the team that did so well on the opening day with the Dash for Cash, the second and third place drivers. Here Adam Ravity throwing the boat around. He was the quicker of the two drivers yet again. They made their way into the final six. And Slade Stanley, what can you say? He's taken this boat to the point very, very comfortably. 6/10 clear in the end of Daryl Hutton at the end of the top 12. Mick Carroll continued on with his pace, but he dropped off a little too. And Fonzie Mullen got himself into the top 4 with Adam Ravity and Greg Mercier, the 6 drivers making it through into the next final. Top 6 unlimited superboat time now at Griffith for round 2 of the Continental Tyres Australian Superboat Championships. Greg Krusty Mercier, the reigning Queensland champion in the 400 class, former world number 2. He's had a very interesting and somewhat fiery debut in the unlimited class so far this year. Lots of dramas at the opening round in Temora, lots of onboard fires, because that's a major concern when it runs on a methanol fuel and the flame burns clear. It's been a big issue for them, especially when they planned so early in the season to make sure they wouldn't have that drama. They've managed to get over the top of that now. Now it's down to sorting the boat, and Krusty knows how to get around this track. He's famous for saying that the best way around here is to survive, not just set a time. Make sure you can hang on and be there at the end. He didn't do a bad job, but his time probably isn't going to be quick enough to put him through into the top 6. Adam Ravity, though, very quick. He, out of the 2 drivers in the Jackhammer team, have managed to really come to grips with the Griffith course and be fast, straight out of the box. Of course, he and Jody Elo made the final 3 at the Dash for Cash on Saturday night, and again, Adams put down a top time. Would they manage to be able to take it to this guy, though? Mick Carroll very nearly won the Australian Championship last year, probably one of the most impressive drivers. He had an unfortunate reputation for putting the boat out of the water a lot in previous seasons, but last year he really came of age and went very close to taking the Australian Championship. His time is quick, but is it going to be quick enough to do the job? A 37.477, that's not too bad. We'll see whether or not that'll actually get him through the final. Fonzie Mullen now, Ramjet, the former Triple X, the team leader, 2008 Group A champion. Just watch this 1600 horsepower pro-charged LSX engine go. Have a listen. Very, very physical, this boat. A lot of horsepower, a lot of torque, and a very demanding circuit too. A lot of crosswash. Boat set up pretty well. You can see it's fairly smooth. It's knifing its way through the tight section. A very busy job for Fonzie behind the wheel. It's amazing to see just how quickly the water passes beneath you. He's doing a great job. He's going to be close as he comes down towards the line. Is he going to make it? He's got Mick Carroll's time to beat. Yes, he does. That's incredible. 6/1000th of a second puts him to the top at the moment, and that should just about guarantee him a final 3 berth. Little bit of a wiggle there as he crosses the line. He's very happy with that. Daryl Hutton, what's he got in store? At the moment, he's behind the 8 ball. Slade Stanley has the point. He has the top time, and he's 6/10 up at the moment on Nutsy. But the reigning Australian champion knows what he needs to do. He's dug deep before and managed to pull a time. This little 440 cubic inch supercharged machine, they've cranked it up. It's putting out 1,000 horsepower, and he's using every little bit of that around here. Watch it skip across the water. On the run down towards the line, is he going to be able to get a time to put himself on top? 36.701, that gives him the lead time, but now it's Slade Stanley's turn. Watch him shoot up the front straight and into that top corner. It's a tight one, but Slade's got it sorted. Had a drama there the previous night, as we heard, put it up the bank, just let it run wide. But of course, Dash for Cash days, not when it counts. Now is when it counts. This man is silky smooth. Here he is in a boat that he doesn't know as well as his own boat. It's skipping across the water a little bit like Daryl Hutton's did, but he's got the thing really, really cranked up. Supercharged 400 cubic incher, putting out somewhere in the vicinity of 1,000 horsepower. Will he be able to take that time? It's going to be close. He's heading down towards the line, coming through the last segment. Yes, he's done it. A 36.162. That's very interesting. So it sets up a top final with Hutton second and Fonzie Mullen third, just scraping in by 6/1000th of a second. Finals time now, Ramjet, Fonzie Mullen, former Group A champion. Bit of a star around this particular circuit. He likes it. There's a lot of horsepower to handle, 1,600 of them. He's really been trying to get this boat up to a speed where it handles. The engine performance is consistent and it's reliable. He's had a tough year with that in 2009. Now he's got that sorted. He's working on the boat performance and the way it sits in the water. Still very busy in the wheel. When you compare that to Slade Stanley in his own boat, it's very, very different. A little bit of a hiccup there in the top corner, back across the crosswash, just threw the boat a little bit wider than he would have liked. He's got some idea that this boat, the way the horsepower works, the rotation of the engine actually throws the boat a little bit off course. That makes it even harder, which explains some of the wheel work. He set a time of 37.616. It's a couple of tenths off what he did in the top 6, but that's a pretty slick time all the same. Daryl Hutton now, he's got the job all ahead of him. Can he knock off Slade Stanley? Slade still has the advantage. Quick hop out of the water under throttle. Most of the lap with these guys is flat. In this instance, off the start, you're flat. You've got a little bit of a hop as the boat picks up and sucks all the water into the grill and through the jet unit. Back off the throttle and back on hard. Griffith, of course, very tight, as you can see from the onboard. So you've really got to think about where you place the boat and how you drive around these corners. A little bit rough around that top corner. He hasn't quite nailed that. That's going to cost him time-wise. Rest of the lap, though, is not looking too bad. Coming through the final series of corners down to the line. What's it going to be? It's going to be close. 36.991. That puts him to the point. That's the lead time so far. Down on his best time of the night, but that could be enough. See what Slade Stanley has in store. Here he comes to the line. The Canberra Floorcraft machines never looked better. It's really doing the job. Surprised everybody with the speed that Slade Stanley's found from this Macraft. It's really on song. He's got it dialed in. Funny thing is, I heard the boys down in the pitch just prior to the final run saying they were going to dial in another 100 horsepower, put a bigger pulley on the front of the engine, get him a little bit more power to pull himself clear of Daryl Hutton. He knows he's got everything in front of him. He's so close. He's set the lead time all day. Can he come through with it? He's got that extra 100 horses. What's that going to do to the performance of the boat? He's going to get to some of these corners that he's dialed himself into a lot faster. It's going to bring a whole different bag of surprises to him. If anyone can do it, though, it's this man. Daryl Hutton's got a fight on his hands for the championship, and look at that, a 35.270. He didn't just beat him, he annihilated him.
A very tricky track this evening. You've come out second best to Slade Stanley. Tell me how you're feeling.
I'm disappointed, actually, Amy. I think I let myself down, let our team down because overdrove it, sat on the tyres for too long, and Slade done an unreal drive at the end, and which you couldn't fault, and that was him. Speaking of, so at the end of the day, I think Slade deserved the win because he just drove faultlessly.
Slade Stanley, first year in the Unlimited Superboats. Tell me how you're feeling now that you've just topped off everyone on this fantastic final round.
Oh, no, that's great. The boat's just built for this track. I can't thank the Canberra Floorcraft boys enough for letting me jump in their boat and just go out there and have a blast.
And Fonzie, how are you feeling? You just come out of the Superboat class, placed third. How's it going?
I'm over the moon. I've got a boat together. It's in one piece, engine one piece. We've got a big break, so no working on jet boats. And I'm ecstatic that a lot of the hard work for a lot of people that have put in have come out. So I'm ecstatic over it.
And at the close of the second round of the Continental Tyres Australian Superboat Championships, it's all tied up on top. Daryl Hutton and Slade Stanley equal on points. Greg Mercier is hanging on to that third position, but he's coming under assault from Adam Ravity and Mick Carroll. In the 400 class, Ted Sagittas has regained the championship lead, just 1 point clear of Rowan Smith, with Derek Sagittas third on 92. Take Robert Coleman into that equation with 89 points. There's only 6 points covering the top four, with Daniel Walton and Brooke Dixon not too far behind. And in the 350 class championship, Daniel James sits on top of the points, the round one winner with 113, clear of David Blake, Daniel Devoit and Robert Hallam.